Within just the last hour, the president posted this on Truth Social saying, quote, if the corrupt politicians in Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act. Trump goes on to say that, quote, that would quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state.
Here's what U.S. Secretary of Now, in the U.S., we're also following some breaking news concerning ongoing protests in Minnesota. President Donald Trump says he will invoke the Insurrection Act if the state doesn't quell demonstrations against an immigration crackdown. Here's what U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said last hour when she was asked if she thinks the act should be invoked.
Oh, I think that the president has that opportunity in the future. It's his constitutional right, and it's up to him if he wants to utilize it.
Likely to do it?
I don't know.
But if he does it, will it lead to more deadly killings in Minnesota if the Insurrection Act is invoked?
If anything doesn't change with Governor Walz, I don't anticipate that the streets will get any safer.
That's a look at those streets. The threat of the Insurrection Act comes as tensions boiled over after a second shooting involving a federal agent since last week. This was the scene last night in Minneapolis. Agents reportedly deployed tear gas canisters, pepper balls, and flashbangs against protesters last night. They took to the streets after a Venezuelan national was shot in the leg during a targeted stop. The CBC's Linda Ward has more now on the threats made by the U.S. president.
Well, let's take a look at what the president has posted on his social media, Truth Social, earlier this morning, saying, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that's taking place in that once great state. Now, the Insurrection Act would essentially allow the president to deploy the military, federalize the National Guard, and it would be done to, they say, assist law enforcement authorities and suppress rebellion against the United States government that is obstructing enforcement of the law. The Insurrection Act has been used over the course of history about 30 times. The most recent invocation of the Insurrection Act was 1992, when the government of California requested military aid in response to civil unrest after the beating of Rodney King. Now, this was the scene in Minneapolis last night as protesters clashed with authorities, hurling rocks, ice, fireworks, law enforcement agents responding with tear gas, with flashbangs. They are protesting the second shooting by an ICE agent in that city in the course of 1 week. Last night, a Venezuelan national was shot in the leg following a car chase with ICE agents. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says that the man was trying to get away, crashed his vehicle into a parked car, and the man and then two others from a nearby apartment got into a scuffle. They attacked the officer, they say, with a snow shovel and a broom handle. They arrested him, and the man who was shot, as well as the officer, have gone to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Of course, this incident is
Shalom. I'd like to show praise due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Akakwadash. Double honors the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. And Trump, he's invoked. He's planning on invoking the Insurrection Act in Minneapolis, and this is all a theater. This is all a stage, right, for this whole NWO, this whole New World Order. They want order out of chaos. So, I feel like these are a lot of these are agent provocateurs, crisis actors, right, and they basically want chaos. They don't want like this is the plans of these elite, right? They call it order of the chaos. So they want to create this chaos and then instill order, right? This is the plan, right? And so if there's so they're gonna start with it. They're gonna start with like Minneapolis, right? And right now the ICE, all right, the ICE agents, right? They're in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, right? They're into a lot of states where Jake is, right? So they're gonna that's why it says Revelation. Let's get it. Book of the book of Revelation 12 verse 12. It says Revelation 12 verse 12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth he hath but a short time. So, they plan on, instituting this whole enterprise, this new world order, this NWO. They plan on, doing a lot of things, population control. They want to put people in in FEMA camps, right? These different concentration camps where those who don't want to comply, right? Like they're going to be hemmed up and put into concentration camps. You're going to be tortured, starved out, and killed if you don't want to comply. Right, so things is happening very quick, right? Going into this whole new year, a lot of things have been happening, man. A lot of things is happening. A lot of things is coming to pass. So Revelation, Second Esdras 70 and 1. For therefore there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So, the Insurrection Act, what Trump is gonna push, right? And that word insurrection, when you go into the Edom online, it says insurrection. The insurrection, the Edom online. Insurrection, an uprising against civil authority. Early 15th century insurrection, French insurrection, Latin insurrection. So basically, to rise against government, right? And we, as members of Great Millstone, we aren't going to rise against the government, right? Because it says, I think it's Romans 13. Romans 13, I get. One moment. The book of Romans. Yeah, Romans 13 and 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Yahweh, the power of that be are ordained of Yahweh. So, even though we go on the highways and byways, right? This is our constitutional right, right? This is a part of the Canadian like freedom rights. I believe the term, but basically here in Canada, we are protected, right? We're not looking to cause no war and no civil war against the authorities, right? This is our constitutional right. We go on the highways and byways, and this is the Canadian rights. Right, one moment. This is our actual rights, man. One moment. Yeah, so the Canadian freedom of speech, right? So this is, I believe, with the AI overview. Canadian freedom of speech protected under Section 2B of the Charters, guaranteed rights to express thought, belief, and ideas it says covering speech, art, and media. But so so this is why we make our videos. We're going into our history. We're going to prophecy, but it is not absolute. But it is not absolute. Reasonable limits exit of hate speech. It's a defamation threats, right? So we're not, we're not promoting no hate speech. Right? We're not going against these people, these alternative people, right? Like we're very careful, with our words, right? So this fundamental freedom supports seeking. It's a political participation and self fulfillment, but allows for justifiable restriction on the law, like the crime balance. It was other rights. It says balances it's with other rights and social needs, right? So yeah, so we're not going to be rise against the government and all that, right? It says, whosoever therefore resists the power resist the ordinance of Yahweh, right? So like these guys that's who are Israelites, that have guns, while they're at camp. We as Great Millstone, we don't, when we're at camp, right? Those who some brothers do have legal firearms, right? But we don't go out there and the highs and by with rifles and pistols and act like we're prophesying, man. Like that's stupid, right? Says to be harmless as sheep and blameless as doves, man, right? It says, and they that resist shall receive themselves damnation, for rulers are not but a terror of good works, but to do evil. While thou then not be afraid of the powers, right? So yeah, so even though Esau wants to have a narrative, because they have the whole thing here, I believe it's Project Megiddo. Let's put that. Project Megiddo. Yeah, the Project Megiddo. Project Megiddo was a report researched and written by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation under Director Louis Free, released on October 20th, 1999. It says the report named follows of which white supremacist Christian identities as a Christian identity, American militia movement, and Black Hebrew Israelites, the Apocalypse cult, right? So they have us in their the FBI, they have us under observation under their monitor, where they're monitoring the Hebrew Israelites. They call us black. We're that we don't call ourselves Black Hebrew Israelites. This is what Esau has coined us, right? We just call us the the Hebrew Israelites, right? But Esau is doing a lot of things, man. And like that's why they had a movie with, I believe, Mekhi Phifer. It was called Asher, right? And they never released that movie because it would expose, that there are, Asian provocateurs, that's in every camp, whether they're GMS, whether they're of Sakari, whether they're of the ISUPK, the IUIC. There's agents, right? So we are not ignorant of Satan devices. So Second Esdras 16 and 70, it says, so I can make it. Second Esdras 16:70, for there shall be in every place and in the next city, so a city near you, right? Whether you are in a state and live in, like whether you're in a major city, right? It's gonna come, right? Jacob's trouble is at the doorstep, is here. A great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, right? And we're the only one that fear the Lord, right? The Hebrew Israelites. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Right? So they're not going to have no mercy, right? Because they know that they have a short time, right? And we as Israelites, we've been exposing who is Esau, Edom, right? So they're they're gonna they're getting mad, right? And they're gonna come after the Hebrew Israelites. They shall waste and take away their goods and cast them on their house. So yeah, they're gonna apprehend you and they're gonna take your stuff. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. So we as Israelites, we're going to be tried, right? And the Lord's going to see whether you're the Lord, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh and Yahushai is going to know whether you are of His elect, right? Because if you're not of the elect, you're going to be burned up in the fire, and you're going to perish. But if you're of the elect, you're going to go through the fire, right, and be beamed up, right, in the chariot, right, and that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So with that, I'd like to say our praise due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem HaKakwadash, double honor to Apostle, our great millstone, peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.